Today's the day we look into the past while we also look back into the future. Happy hobby, I'm David Ganis. If you're a sports car collector and you're working with a limited budget, that's what we do here. That's what we talk about on this YouTube series. Today we're going to talk about a little sports card history, but we're also going to get into a little retail blaster I picked up of Topps Allen and Ginter, 2024 Topps Allen and Ginter. But that's what we're going to talk about. What's this Allen and Ginter? What's this all about? The words Allen and Ginter, it currently makes us think about like dog shows, baseball cards by Topps, certainly, musicians, cards with actors, rappers, bees, bread, stuff like that, random things, right? Well, it was 160 years ago that John F. Allen and Louis Ginter founded a tobacco company in Richmond, Virginia. Now, this company quickly became one of the premier cigarette companies. They started in 1865, and they became one of the biggest cigarette manufacturers or tobacco companies in America, in the world, really. The world had started to shift at this point from chewing tobacco and pipe tobacco into the easier mode, the newer mode of nicotine intake, and that was cigarettes. Now, in 1865, we're talking about, this was the end of the Civil War. This was Abraham Lincoln getting assassinated. He ended up getting succeeded by his vice president, Andrew Johnson, was president in 1865 when this Allen and Ginter tobacco company was first created. You know, it's interesting. Andrew Johnson never got a vice president. I thought that was, why didn't he? You'd think there was one just shot. You'd think he'd make sure he'd get another one ready. So Allen and Ginter would go on to create the very first modern set of cards that were marketed for collecting. Now, I recently bought one of those cards, and we're going to look at it in a little bit closer. I'll put it down here, and we'll look down into it. But this video is about the history of this company, those cards, the effect that this creation had on the world of collecting. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to open up this blaster and talk about the current version of Topps Allen and Ginter, or Allen and Ginter in general. But first, we're going back to 1865, like I said. Now, this company, it was the first tobacco company that employed female labor. I thought was interesting. They had over 1,100 employees. Most of them were women. They rolled the cigarettes for them. I imagine like they had tinier hands. That made more sense. 1875, when 1875 came around, John F. Allen, he started to include advertising cards into his packs of cigarettes. Now, these were thicker cards. This card in here is a little thicker than the cards we know of in like the T206 era in the early 1900s. Those were thinner cards. But these cards were thicker because they were meant to stiffen up the pack of cigarettes to protect those delicate cigarettes inside. So these cards in 1875, John F. Allen came up with advertising cards. They were called. They were marketing things for different companies, maybe even marketing things for themselves inside those packs of cigarettes. They're, like I said, they were quite sturdy, thicker, which that increased the durability of these cards for us to collect still today, 167 years later, 168 years later. So in 1887, Allen and Ginter created what's called the iconic World's Champions set. Now, this featured athletes from various sports, including baseball players, which was becoming the national pastime after the Civil War, if you remember. That makes sense, right? And they had notable other public figures within this set. These cards were illustrated with vibrant chromolithographic printing with white backgrounds behind them. So they really popped, which compared to eventually some of the other cards that came out, other companies started to create cards following Allen and Ginter's suit. These cards, though, stood out. They were different. They popped. They were much prettier. So obviously these cards were aimed at young men, and their cigarettes were aimed at the fathers of those young men, right? So they were trying to get the kids to go to the dad and say, hey, if you're going to buy cigarettes, buy Allen and Ginter, man. I get the cards for them. I love those cards. So, you know, just like every father just wants the kid to stop complaining and griping and wanting things, so he goes to that. They didn't care what they were smoking. The brand of the tobacco is all generally the same. There wasn't much difference. So when they started marketing, they had to come up with something to differentiate the different tobacco companies from each other. Allen and Ginter came up with the idea of marketing for young adults. While we're happy because we got cool cards out of it, it was pretty rough because now these kids were smoking. Children, boys, were smoking cigarettes back then. It became a big deal amongst people who, the very few who cared about the health of the lungs of these young children. So as I mentioned, this Allen Ginter was the first set to really kick off this card collecting frenzy, but there was 4 different tobacco companies that put cards in their cigarette packs that we look to today as the 4 main cards from this area, 4 main brands from this area. Allen and Ginter, which is now a brand owned by Topps. Gypsy Queen, which Topps also creates a brand of cards with those. They have a series of Gypsy Queen cards that they release each year. That's another Topps brand. Goodwin Champions. That might be familiar to you. That's a brand that's currently owned by Upper Deck. Every year they create Goodwin Champions cards. And then finally, Old Judge cards. Now, Old Judge cards, I don't believe that's actually owned by anyone. I think there might be, every now and then you'll see an insert or something that's like in the Old Judge look. But I don't think it's a brand anyone's producing regular sets of cards under that name. But those are the 4 ones that we're going to concentrate on in this video series. I'll do different videos about each of those. And then eventually we'll move a little further into the future, about 20 years into the future. Spoiler alert. But anyways, Allen and Ginter, they released 2 sets of World's Champions series consisting of about 50 cards each in each set. So there's about 100 cards that were created over these 2 years. Now, these sets were categorized by Jefferson Burdick, who is basically considered like the father of card collecting and organization. He went through and he categorized just about every card ever created. This is in the 30s. He started this and created American Card Catalog. And so we look, when you hear T206, it was Jefferson Burdick that came up with T for 20th century American tobacco. That was the T part. And then 206 was an indicator of the time period, I believe, or the set of cards. So in this case, these are the Allen and Ginter cards from 87 and 88 are considered the N28 and N29 cards. That's what Burdick categorized them as. The N stood for 19th century American tobacco cards, and the 28 and 29 differentiated the 2 sets or the 2 years respectively. The second set, interestingly, the N28 from 1888, those are considered significantly rarer and are much more valuable, much tougher to get. Now, some of the notable cards from the N28 set, which is what we're talking about here, from 1887 include baseball players like Cap Anson, Charles Comiskey, Tim Keefe, Mike King Kelly, and Jack Glasscock, as well as non-athletes like Buffalo Bill Cody and Annie Oakley. You know them from back in the Western days. So there's cards with Buffalo Bill. That's his rookie card, but Buffalo Bill and Annie Oakley rookie cards. Those are also highly collectible. They'd also include photographs of things on these cards, like birds and wild animals. They'd have Native American chiefs on these cards and flags of the world. So there's all this amalgam of different things in these sets that became, what a cool thing for a kid to try to collect all these things and start learning all this stuff. That's pretty neat. Now, the baseball cards, though, those were the most collectible, most valuable now, as we look back from those sets. But of the 100 cards that were produced, there were only 16 baseball cards. 16 baseball players depicted among those 100 cards. But there were also boxers. So like Jack Dempsey and John L. Sullivan were 2 of the big boxers. Those are actually really collectible. Those are expensive. Very popular cards in that set. And other sports represented were of other world-class athletes from tennis and wrestling. That's what this one is, wrestling. Cycling, track and field, and billiards. One noteworthy item, this came from an article on Beckett. It mentioned that Hall of Fame pitcher John Clarkson has a card in the 1887 set, the N28 set. But he's shown as a pitcher for the Boston Bean Eaters. Now, he didn't join that ball club until 1888. So the more accepted dates for these cards today is actually 1888, which this 1887 card probably was created, and 1889, which the 1888 cards were probably created. It's a little confusing, I know. Now, Allen and Ginter would go on to produce a supplementary album with pictures of all these cards that the kids want to collect, so they could see what the cards were. Now, the cards, they'd end up getting cut out of these albums to act like the card itself. So they weren't really the cards. They were kind of like makeshift cards, and people still today could end up buying them. They're known as album cuts. They're not as valuable as the true real card, but they are collectible also, as you can imagine. The albums are very collectible also. Now, in 1890, Allen and Ginter merged with a few other tobacco companies, and the manufacturers all got together, and they formed basically a monopoly of cigarette brands, of cigarette manufacturers, and that was ended up being called the American Tobacco Company. So now, why is that important? Well, since all these cards were created as marketing tools to entice people to buy their brand of cigarette, since all these brands were jammed together now in just one American Tobacco Company, there was no need for marketing. There was no need for advertising. There was no need for, trying to reel in somebody from buying this pack of cards over this pack of cards. So they stopped paying for making this extra cost, and they eliminated cards altogether. Now, it wouldn't be for another 20 years before we'd see some more real baseball cards being created from cigarette packs, or being created in put in cigarette packs. That's the T206. We'll do that again. We'll talk about that another time. But the reason for that 20 years later is because the government finally stepped in and said, "Man, you're a monopoly. You can't be doing this. This ain't right." So they broke up that monopoly. But before the monopoly was broken up, they figured out, we need to start figuring out, this is what's coming down the pike. So they started to create baseball cards again. That's the T06 set. Again, we'll do that in another video. So back to Allen and Ginter. Since 2006, Topps has released cards, released sets of baseball cards with this brand name. Now, it was originally a brand from over 130 years ago, right? But it's still something today, and they put strange stuff in these cards. There's some oddball cards in here. There's cards of rappers, flags of the world, winners from the Westminster Dog Show, TV personalities, football and basketball rookies. There's some good Drake May and Zach Ricochet. There's some good players in here of other sports. Last year, you might remember, Scott Hedrick sent me a box or a blaster of Allen and Ginter of 2023, and I got a Victor Wembanyama card out of that. I love that card. It's a pretty awesome card. So that's what we're going to get into now. I'm going to bust this open. Let's see what we can find. I hope you enjoyed this history lesson, and now you might look at Allen and Ginter cards a little differently, because I do. At first, I was just like, it's a big, it's just a gimmick. Well, it was a gimmick. It was 130 years ago. 138 years ago they started this gimmick. So a little respect for that. Let's get into this blaster. All right, so let's look a little closer at this card. Now, when I first decided to buy a card, one of the first cards, baseball or sports cards ever created, I decided a few things I wanted to make sure were part of it. One, it needed to be from 1887 because that was the first year, which we now know might actually be 1888. It needed to be an SGC card. I want to make sure it was an SGC graded card. I wanted it to be pretty, And I was fine if it was authentic, but I was able to get this card as a 2.5. I originally wanted to get a baseball player, but baseball players in the Allen and Ginter, they were super duper expensive. So I was fine with getting a cool other athlete. And the reason I went with this one specifically, it's gorgeous, just a beautiful card, beautiful coloring on it. Look, we'll get a little closer here. My guy one of my stipulations was I wanted the guy to look like he was from 1887. My man looks like he's from 1887, John McMahon. You can see here, Allen and Ginter's Cigarettes, Richmond, Virginia. Now I'm going to flip this over. You can get an idea. Now they have the checklist for the entire set on the back. I'm going to see if my little magnifying glass can help us see it a little bit better. Hold on just a second. All right, so you should be able to see a little bit better there. So let's look at these baseball players. Chaz Bennett, John M. Ward, that's Mike King Kelly, big deal. John Clarkson, that's the one we mentioned, where he's in the Boston Bean Eaters. Timothy Keefe, he's in the Hall of Fame. Joseph Mulvey, Adrian Cap Anson. Then there's Captain Jack Glasscock, R.L. Carruthers, and Charles Comiskey, who you know of, from Comiskey Field with the Chicago White Sox. It was named after Comiskey, one of the guys ended up becoming the owner. We have oarsmen there, so guys who did rowing. Wrestlers down here, Joe Acton, W.M. Muldoon, Theo Bauer. Where's my guy? John McMahon. There he is. And then, what does it say? Young Bisbee at the bottom? Young Bibby. Geo Melling, it says. Young Bibby, Geo Melling. And then we go up to the pugilists up there. John L. Sullivan. Let's get some light on it. Jack Dempsey, you see there. Jack McCullough. Lots of young Irish fellas into the boxing back then. Rifle shooters, there you see. Honorable William F. Cody, Buffalo Bill. And then Miss Annie Oakley. So, for people who like to collect, WNBA and women's tennis player cards, this is one of the first ever women's sports cards. That's pretty historic right there. Then you got your billiard players and your pool players, which I still thought those were the same thing. I know there's a difference, but I don't know what it is. All right. So anyways, that's the, let's take a closer look. Outside that stain, but for this to be a 2.5, it's 138 years old. A 2.5. I'm pretty excited about having this in my collection. And I am looking for, this was, by the way, I got this for like $80 on eBay. That's my point, is you can get amazing cards for cheap. You don't have to be paying for the 1 of 5 rookie patch auto of Joe Schmelman, who might not be anything in 5 years. Go back 138 years, buy something awesome that's already graded, already authenticated, and already awesome like this. That's my 2 cents. All right, so let me put this all back and then we'll get into this box right now. So as I mentioned, there's some awesome cards we can get out of here. Not just rookie baseball cards like, Jackson Holiday, Jackson Chorio, Jackson Merrill, Paul Skeens, and all those guys. But there are great other rookie cards like Zachary Richesse and Alex Sarr is a possibility. Drake May, I mentioned. There's other great cards. Let me see if there is Jaden Daniels in here. I believe so. Yes, as a matter of fact, you get Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams in here. So lots of good possibilities. Let's get into this now. Any card over 300, like the set is to, I think, 350. So every card over, let me look. The set's to 350. Yeah, any card above 300 is considered a short print. And again, they have the mini cards in here, so we want to be careful not to let those just drop out and such. So let's see what we got. We got Barry Larkin, Hall of Famer. Jackie Robinson. I love it anytime I get a Jackie Robinson or any of the cards from the Negro Leagues, any of the players from the Negro Leagues. Love those cards. Trey Turner. Jack Peterson, and then looks like we have a mini, and your boy Stump, which kind of looks like a little bit, not really like Frank, but still. And then the mini, we got, flip it around, it is the old Joe Musgrove. Yeah, so he goes there. Anyways, we'll put those there. Getting the second pack here. Allen and Ginter, these are one of those, oh yeah, a little Nolan Ryan action. Allen and Ginter are one of those alternative sets that you can get great rookie cards of. Kensrue, let's see what this guy is. Dustin Kensrue, musician, singer, songwriter. So there's that. Francisco Lindor, like, for instance, I'll show you in a second, but I just recently, let's go to the back here. Sisters. So Shenzhen and Melbourne. Sino Australian sister city relationship. Okay. In case you were curious, you might not have known that, but I didn't show you, right? Marco Luciano, rookie card. Mini. I think that's actually that's a short print, what do you call it? Image variation, rookie card image variation. So that's cool. So before we go too far, I wanted to show this one. This is, as I mentioned, it's an alternate rookie card. This is from Allen and Ginter, 2008 Topps. I bought this on eBay for, I think it was 11 or 12 bucks, basically. So it's a Clayton Kershaw rookie card. He's a future Hall of Famer, and it's a beautiful, beautiful card. So we'll put this guy right here. So my point is, you can get cool, if you know, when you're talking about collecting on a budget, collecting alternative rookie cards is a great thing. Obviously, getting the parallels and all that good stuff, that's better. But you know what? We don't have a ton of money, right? Fischel, is this the girl from Boy Meets World? Danielle Fischel. Boy Meets World. Nailed it. And then you got your boy Luis Matos. Eddie Murray, like that. And we got, this one's a B one. We got the B's. Adrenadea, of course, yeah. You'll tell me. And we got, world's tallest mountains. Gyacheng Kang. I did not know that. So there's weird stuff in here. It's true. You're not getting pure baseball cards and nonsense. You know, it's oddities. There's thing. You know, this would be a cool thing if I had a kid. This would be a cool thing to. Ooh, I got something shiny. Well, that's cool. Maybe I'll save this guy for last. This would be a cool thing to collect with your boy or your daughter because you could help teach them. They help learn about history, help learn about famous people, rappers. Okay, so maybe it's not an awesome thing. But anyways, they probably already know about the rapper. Don't you worry about it. Then you got your K-pop guys, right? This guy, Shin Lim. Oh, he's a magician. All right, well. You got Julio Rodriguez, very sweet. Jack Flaherty. Oh, I haven't looked at to see if my if I'm getting short prints here. Sister cities, New Orleans and Durban. Where's Durban? I don't know, but that's sister city, so it goes there. And then we got right here, Nolan Arenado, possible future Hall of Famer. What do you think about Nolan Arenado in the Hall of Fame? He's put up some pretty nice stats through the years. Had some downtime, but he's put together a pretty nice career. It's a possibility. Josh Gibson, fireballer. Adrian Beltre, Spencer Strider, Garrett Cole, and then we have behind this, we got another pup, Rumor, German Shepherd, and then the mini is Virginia. Look, we were just Allen and Ginter. From Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, to be specific. Oh, the first 4 presidents of the United States. I did not know that. And Allen and Ginter don't even mention that they're from they're from Virginia. That's a missed opportunity there, A&G. Or I should say Topps, I guess. Missed opportunity. All right, 2 packs left, but we also have this shiny fella to find out what that is. Don't forget that. Bartolo Colon with the Expos back in the day. Harmon Killebrew, Hammerin Harmon. I I believe they call them. There's something else they call him. Killer, I think. Freddie Freeman, World Series MVP. Raleigh Fingers. Awesome. Another pup. This one's called Sage. Not a great picture. Not a great picture. And then behind him, we have a rookie card of Emmett Sheehan. Emmett Sheehan. Come on down. Well, these are all rookie cards. All the minis are rookie cards. Yeah, I didn't even catch that. I'm not too bright. All right. I believe they are. Roberto Clemente. Very cool. I'll be sending this one to my guy over there, Patrick M. Hoff. He loves his Pirates, so I'll set that aside for him. Wade Boggs. Yeah, Ben Brown, rookie card. Carlos Correa, and the way back. Sister cities, Charleston and Panama City. Did not. Ooh, we got a gold. Who this? Edgar Martinez. A gold Edgar Martinez. Not numbered to. Oh, what is it numbered? No, not numbered to anything. It's just gold. It's just gold. So we'll put him right there. All right, so let's get into this. So we got Max Muncy, Christopher Morel, now a Tampa Bay Ray, hitting out of the what do you call it? Yankees field, Legends field. Juan Encarnacion Strand. All right, so I got something. What's in the way? I got two things here. All right, so let's do first the Chrome Adams rookie card. Who's Adams on the Angels? Not familiar with him. I don't have anything behind. Oh, yeah, I do have a silver or a chrome mini of Corbin Carroll, his second-year card. And then the way back, we got the prehistoric, the reptile card. I forget what these are called. Oregon Zoo. It's got the Speaks Gazelle. It's a Gazella Spicay. Every animal gets regular health checkups. So it's an X-ray. I was thinking it was a dinosaur for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. But it's from the zoo. This is an X-ray picture with stuff on it. What's the blue stuff? Where'd that come from? X-ray picture of a gazelle. So that's new, and that's pretty interesting that the gazelle's horn, that's how it X-rays. Very cool. All right, I'm going to look into that, see what makes that special. Let's see how rare those cards are. All right, so I found out these are only like in 1 in 7 hobby boxes. That not too rare. These aren't too rare. The Chrome Minis not too rare, but the 50 States one and this World's Tallest Mountain. The World's Tallest Mountain one, these come, what is it? 1 in every 69 hobby boxes. So that's probably the rarest card that I got out of this set. But there's a lot of weird stuff in here, like uniform countdowns you can get. A lot of cool stuff. Stained glass mini. I would have loved to have gotten a stained glass mini. Anyways, let me know if you've opened some Allen and Ginter, if you've bought some old Allen and Ginter, maybe some not so old, but old Allen and Ginter, like the Kershaw. Let me know, what do you think of Allen and Ginter? What do you think of the history lesson we just went through? And whatever you do, make sure you have a happy hobby.